Barber,
Present.
Councilmember Berenson,
Present.
Councilmember Burke,
Present.
Councilmember Circo,
Present.
Councilmember Holman,
Present.
Councilmember Jacobson,
Present.
Councilmember Townsend,
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. We have a quorum. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have no presentations or awards this evening and no personal appearances, so we'll move into staff reports. Mr. Icky.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to call on Mr. Krass to give a report for Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I really don't have anything to report other than my written report, but I am available for questions this evening.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Icky? Nope. Or I mean, Mr. Krass. Thank you, sir. Mr. Icky.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to call on Mr. Mustine for a report from Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. Mayor, members of the council. I have just a couple things on in addition to my written report this evening. First of all, tomorrow, some of you may get phone calls or notices that there is a boat on Johnston Lake at Hawk Ridge Park. We have contracted Lake Solitude Management Company. They will be doing basically a trash cleanup on the water, doing on water or basically pickup in the water area, not surface area around the shore. So just a notification of that. It's going to take place tomorrow. It could take into Wednesday. I don't know yet. We'll post that and make sure everybody knows that's going on. The fountain at Johnston Lake is installed. We're at this point waiting only on Evergy to come out and energize the new panel, and then the fountain should be up and running. I don't know if that'll happen this week. They couldn't guarantee that. Finally, tonight's report, on December 4th, 6 p.m. is our annual Mayor's Tree Lighting. It has been posted and announced that this year's event will be virtual, a virtual event. Several communities across the country are doing this. I anticipate our communications department and my own recreation staff are going to have an excellent opportunity, an excellent event for that. More details will be coming out as they plan that. Should be next week when all the final details are coming out. But we do still have the Christmas tree trail that will be there. Currently we have 18 trees, which is one of the biggest years we've ever had for that. It is free. Anybody can do it, not just businesses, but the deadline is tomorrow. So if anybody would like to do that, log on to Facebook or our website, and the application's there. It's very simple. And once we get that notification, my staff will contact anyone and get that set up. That concludes my staff report, and happy to answer any questions tonight.
Yes, Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question on the lake cleanup. They're using a third party to go in and clean the Johnston Lake. Is that something you're going to yearly? What's the schedule for that? The reason I ask is there's a lot of people comment about, because of the houses around there, I think naturally it gets a lot of debris in the lake. I would hope that most of it's accidental and not on purpose, but do get a lot of comments about debris around the lake and in the lake.
Yes, sir. Johnston Lake does collect a lot of trash and debris. I don't think it's intentional. We do have some angler debris, worm buckets and things like that sitting out, but this particular company is the contractor that manages Recreation Park Pond. This was one of the services they provided. We thought that we would contract them for a one-time and see if we liked it, if it was worth the money, mainly to do some work that we can't provide, and then we'll assess that. If it's a value to us, then we will always go back in and work on negotiating with them for an annual contract on that. But we wanted to do it once to see if it was worth the money that we're paying for it, which I can tell you it's probably going to be based on what they're doing and what we're paying them to do that. So we're excited that it'll get done because we do get a lot of comments on trash around the lake.
Anyone else? I saw we had trout stocking last week. How's the trout fishing going?
They're almost gone, sir.
They're almost, I don't know what it is about those anglers, but they can smell it when that shipment comes there.
Yeah, it'd be nice
They
to be able
start
to
fishing.
tag them so you know exactly how many
know.
are left at that point. But that's a very popular program.
Yes, it is. All right. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Mr. Eke, anything else?
Thank you, sir. The only additional item next Monday, November 30th, will be the fifth Monday, and so we will have no meeting that evening. That completes staff reports.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Eke? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We only have the one item on the consent agenda, and that's the city council minutes for the November 9th meeting. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend,
I move that we approve the consent agenda item A, City Council Minutes, November 9th, 2020.
thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. The item is the city council minutes for the November 9th meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carries 8-0. Could I please have the first reading of this is the unfinished business. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3586 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3586 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the Unified Development Code.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3586, the 33rd Amendment to the Unified Development Code.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3586. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3584 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3584 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Walter P. Moore to provide on-call technical support services.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3584, Award of Contract On-Call Engineering Technical Support Services.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3584. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Can I please have the second reading of Bill 3587 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3587 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving an agreement with the Mid-America Regional Council Solid Waste Management District relating to the Regional Household Hazardous Waste Program.
Thank you. A worthy cause. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3587, Mark Household Hazardous Waste Agreement.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3587. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. We'll now move on to new business. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3589 by title only?
First reading of Bill 3589 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city manager to enter into a guaranteed pricing contract with Welsh Silt Fence and Erosion Control, LLC, to provide on-call erosion control services.
Thank you. Is there a staff report, Mr. Eke?
Yes, sir, I'd like to call on Mr. Krass for that staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Eke, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. From time to time, we need to step in to enhance erosion control on construction sites. There may be an emergency where something is washed out and mud is out on the streets and those type of things. So we have, over the past several years, used the services of an on-call erosion control company. Welch Silt Fence is the successful contractor. They have done the 2 previous cycles of this contract. They have performed satisfactorily, and we do recommend award of the contract.
Any questions of Mr. Krass? Mr. Barber?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Krass, what do we do today if there's a problem? What have we done in the past? Is that we've just forced the contractor to do it and hope that he did it, or would we have city employees have to clean up?
Well, on a typical, typically after a significant rainstorm, we will go out and inspect the sites. We will then notify either the builder or the contractor that they need to clean up the site. If it's before noon, they have until the close of business that day to make the corrections. If it's afternoon, they have until the next business day to make the corrections. If they haven't done that, then we will contact Welch, and they will come in and abate the whatever corrections need to be made.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Townsend.
And to piggyback off of Mr. Barber's question, so this is for in cases of inclement weather, severe rains and such, not necessarily for code enforcement of construction sites not being held to code?
After any significant rainfall event, an active construction site is responsible to inspect their site and make sure that the erosion control measures are in place. That's required by our permit, that's required by our ordinance. From time to time, we get that they're just a little lacking in their ability to get out there, and we need to intercede. And the cost of this is reimbursed through any security deposits that we have for that type of work.
No, I'm with you on the weather portion of it, but as far as if a construction site is not following through with making sure they have proper control of their debris normally, and we get complaint from residents regarding debris exceeding the construction site, this is not a contract to go out and mitigate that, correct?
I'm
No.
sorry, could you repeat that, sir?
This is not a contract to mitigate any construction site debris leaving the area during normal situations. This is specifically for weather-centered issues?
No, they are required to maintain erosion control throughout the active construction site.
No, this company going out and fixing a problem for a construction company. So for instance, if the Fox Haven area that has a construction going on today, and the residents in Eagle Glen gets a calling saying, hey, debris is flying all over the place, are we calling this company, or are we holding the construction company to account?
Okay.
Debris is separate from this. This is specifically associated with erosion control measures. Debris would fall under Mr. Catarette's department, and that's a whole different company that we call out to pick that stuff up.
I'm hearing silt fence, and I'm going down that path, so thank you.
Mr. Berg, you good? Okay, all right. Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Krass. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve Bill 3589, award of contract on-call erosion control.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3589. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Okay, please have the first reading of Bill 3590 by title only.
The first reading of Bill 3590 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Infrastructure Solutions for the municipal complex stormwater detention improvements, city project number 20-266-202, in the amount of $366,097, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. Is there a staff report, Mr. Ike?
Yes, sir. I'd like to call on Mr. Krass to make that staff report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ike, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This particular project involves modifications to the detention pond at City Hall that's located on the south side of the facility. It was approved in part by the voters as part of the general obligation bond election, the recent general obligation bond election. Also, there was a capital improvement project several years ago that we've been working on. Basically, what we're going to do is convert the detention pond to underground detention, fill it in, create a turfed gathering area, and also a plaza and some sidewalks to connect that area with Centerview. The low bidder for the project was Infrastructure Solutions, and we do recommend award of the contract to them. That concludes my staff report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff? Mr. Holman?
Thank you, sir. Kind of a two-part question. One, assuming approval of this and the award of the contract, when would we expect this work to begin? Is this work that can be done in cold weather? And part two is, will we still use the term Lake Fearborn, or is that out the window now?
Well, one, we were avoiding the term Lake Freeborn. And two, I have been given a deadline of May 3rd, so that's when it will be done.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item. Thank you, Mr. Krass.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend,
I move that we approve Bill 3590, award of contract municipal complex stormwater improvements plaza.
thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3590. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. That concludes new business. We'll move on to public comments now. I don't see anyone from the public here, so we will move on to mayor and council communication, and I will start with Ms. Abdelgawad tonight.
I don't have anything tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just don't really have anything. Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Holman.
Ditto.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Circo.
Yeah, I guess a happy Thanksgiving. Wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Be thankful for what you have. Not be thankful for what you may think you should have. I say that all the time to people. Be thankful for what you have. Thank you, thank you to Nathan on the getting that lakes cleaned up. I really like to hear that. Go and get that debris off the lake water because it does kind of build up, and that's nice to hear that's going to get cleaned up. Thank you very much.
Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to wish everyone in our community happy Thanksgiving, and my heart goes out to those who have lost loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jacobson.
Just a happy Thanksgiving, sir. Can't really top anything my previous colleagues have said. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you. Mr. Townsend.
I have nothing this evening, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one real quick thing. I was anticipating the mayor's Christmas tree lighting probably going virtual. I have a constituent, a 7-year-old that lives in my house, and she asked if Santa would make any appearances in town this year, so I told her I would ask. So this is me asking if Santa will be anywhere in Raymore this year.
I think he is being extremely careful this year, sir.
Okay. I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Yeah, we are at the Christmas tree lighting, and I'll be there for that while everybody else is virtual. I am collecting letters for Santa, so if she would like to prepare one. Ms. Abdelgawad.
I know a business in Belton who has partnered with the Belton Educational Foundation. Abundant Life Chiropractic is having an event with Santa. You could find him on Facebook for the date. I don't know the date right off the top of my head, or I can send you an email of their flyer. But I know Santa is visiting Abundant Life Chiropractic in Belton.
She thought it was really cool that he rides on a fire truck, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. The only thing I have to say tonight, I also want to wish all my colleagues a happy Thanksgiving. But at the last work session, we talked a little bit about masks and the mask mandate and whether or not the county or even the city was going to move in that direction. Obviously, we're not moving in the direction of a mandate. We've been told that, it really does, our authority comes through the health department of the county. And they have recently, as of today, issued an extremely strong recommendation for mask wearing as well as other matters in keeping sizes of congregations down to a minimum, avoiding not being able to socially distance. But they're strongly recommending masks, as we do. We are preparing some poster boards for distribution throughout the city and potentially in partnership with some of our neighboring communities for that education program that was suggested at that work session that night. And I hope that people will be responsible and wear masks. I kind of did my own little survey over the weekend. I had to get out quite a bit. We'd been cooped up in the house for a couple of weeks, so my wife and I got out. I myself had been a victim to the COVID virus, and so we were held up in our own home for a couple of weeks, and I was released last Monday. We finally got a chance to get out and get some supplies this weekend. So I counted, when I was in Walmart, I counted 10 people, was throughout the store quite a bit. We went across the street to the wholesale club, and this is midday on Saturday. Went across the street to the wholesale club. I only saw 3 individuals out of about 150 people in the store that weren't wearing masks. And then my wife, Sunday, went to Price Chopper, and she only counted 2 inside the store that had not masked. So there's a lot of voluntary compliance. I wish that those people that chose not to would think about the other people around them and their feelings about a mask wearing. I myself am a mask wearer. I am not wearing it here because we are socially distanced. We have petitions between us. But as soon as I get up from this table and interact with my colleagues, I will be wearing my mask. I believe that this group has been extremely responsible in doing so and setting a good example anytime I've seen any of my colleagues here out in public. And so I want to commend them for that. I know that many of them have strongly recommended from the beginning that we wear masks in public. And I hope that people will see that there is new data that is being put out every day that says that masks can make a difference. And I believe that that's the case, although when I was infected, I was wearing one the whole time because I know where it happened. And then, but obviously my eyes weren't covered in the full facial mask that a lot of the folks that I was working with that day were using. But anyway, nevertheless, I would strongly recommend we will be putting out that information to our community very soon in partnership with our surrounding communities, especially Belton, because we want to put out a unified voice on that. And I hope that people will take the CDC guidance, will take our own health department's guidance in strongly recommending that you wear a mask, as well as the other measures that we've been talking about all along. And with that, again, I will wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I will leave it at that, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we adjourn City Council meeting for November 23rd.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I will second the motion, sir.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? 8-0. That's unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.